Hey everybody, Liam here. Right before I started to edit this week's episode, of course, after we had finished recording it, I saw the headline that Dwayne is going to be on SmackDown this week, the final boss himself. Is he coming to F with Paul Levesque's WrestleMania plans for the second straight year? Well, one can only hope, but we'll all find out together. So until then, enjoy this week's regularly scheduled episode where we talk about the earthquake for some reason. I don't know. It makes sense within the context in the way that anything we ever talk about makes sense. Anyway, enjoy episode 400. Yay!
Damn it! How long have we been doing this show?
The Wrestling Life.
Hey everybody, it's The Wrestling Life, episode 400, February 2025. I'm Ethan.
I'm Liam.
Liam, happy 400. We have so much to talk about.
Happy 400. And we have so much that we can't talk about. At least 400 things that we cannot talk about on this, still the first and only wrestling podcast.
You know, as we near our 11th anniversary here, I would have thought someone would have come along and tried to do a wrestling podcast, but
well, we own the
still
trade
the first.
So
it's a good point. It's a good point. I also have an LLC that I get billed annually for if we ever want to make this thing a limited liability corporation.
great.
I get billed several $100s every year for nothing. So yeah. Really happy about that.
Have you told that story on the air before?
I don't know. So I was gonna do a podcast with a notable pro wrestling personality about Frazier. And it got we were in advanced discussions, as Variety might say, or Deadline might say, to do this show. And I talked to Conrad Thompson's ad salesperson, who was going to sell ads for it. Because, look, we've tried on the show a few times over the years to go around and sell ads and stuff. And I think the most we really the most we got out of it, we did sell some stuff.
Sure.
Right? We also got some free hats.
Free energy drinks and
free hats, free energy drinks. I got some free coffee. Yeah, we've gotten some free stuff over the years. But going around and selling ads for a small wrestling podcast, even if it's the only one, it's not an effective use of my time.
Sure.
So for this Frazier podcast, I was going to farm the ad sales out to Conrad Thompson's people. I spoke with them. They take an obscenely large cut. By the way, if anyone out there knows what they're talking about, is 35% a standard cut for an ad agency to take if they're selling ads for you? Anyway, I don't know. But he's like, here's how this is going to work. You need to set up an LLC, and then our LLC will pay your LLC. I guess so. It's all above board. I don't know.
Sure.
I guess so. They're not just writing a check to me personally. Okay, great. So I set up an LLC. Notable wrestling personality pulled out of the podcast. I have no podcast, and I have an LLC that costs hundreds of dollars a year to maintain. And I thought I had narrowed it down this year to when the charge was going to hit my bank account, and I thought it would be right about today. And it happened about 9 days earlier.
Oh,
It's always a fun game to play when you've been paid late, like 6 of the last 12 months. So anyway, yeah, that's not what you called though. You called because it's TWL 400.
I did ask, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I told some version of that story before, but 35%, let me know if that sounds normal to you. Uh,
Mhm.
or if that guy was going to gouge me. My gut is the latter. But anyway, it would have been worth it. So I don't have to email and cold call energy drink and coffee companies trying to get money. Anyway,
Right.
WWE is on the road to the Elimination Chamber. John Cena's last time in Toronto as a private citizen or as a professional wrestler coming up next Saturday. The Royal Rumble winners have chosen their WrestleMania opponents. So we're 8 weeks out from WrestleMania, and we already have a couple of matches for that show, and we'll have a couple of more after next Saturday. AEW had their Grand Slam Australia show, which boy, the discourse about that sure did devolve. They had a great crowd in a packed building.
Hmm.
Anyway, we'll talk more about that. They're building towards the Revolution pay-per-view, which is coming up in a few weeks here. And then grab bag, we have several fun pet topics to discuss afterwards, like Shane McMahon apparently asking to run AEW despite not knowing anything about the product. And we got Dwayne Johnson news too. So let's Dwayne Johnson has leaked that he's going to be in a Martin Scorsese movie that has no script yet.
Hmm.
All right. WWE Elimination Chamber. The chamber matches are set, and then we have some ancillary stuff on that show. AJ Styles and Braun Breaker. It could be a TV match, could be on that show. Officially on that show right now, we have the men's chamber with Cena in his final time in Toronto, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins. Let me ask you about this men's field. It's pretty star-studded. And
Hmm.
what did you think of the Seth and Finn Balor match on Raw this week, which got a lot of praise, and I think it just shows how starved we are for good wrestling.
Yeah, I think especially maybe from good wrestling matches that feature Finn Balor in the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wife guy.
Yeah, and that's fine. He cashed in and he's chilling now, man. But look, it was good. It was a good little TV match. I would put it about on that rung where I once famously put Tetsuya Naito versus Jeff Cobb during a COVID Wrestle Kingdom show. It was fine. I had a nice time watching it. I won't remember it at the end of the year, but it was a nice match that I had a nice time watching.
Makes sense. Um, Finn Balor, by the way, I sent you a social media post of Finn Balor's, and I was like, I don't know. There's so much to keep up with everyone. I don't know who sees what, but I'm like, we enjoy doing shtick about how much of a wife guy Finn Balor is. Look, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with loving your wife, but he's a wife guy to the point where his entire personality has become he loves his wife
Hmm.
and loves spending time with his wife. And he goes, and I sent you a post of his, and I'm like, this is such a wife guy post. And your response was,
I think I said I still wasn't prepared for how much of a wife guy post it was.
he was like on the beach and she was off in the distance and he was like pinching her between his fingers or making it appear as though, and he's like, I wish I could put you in my pocket and carry me around with you everywhere. I've never seen a more of a wife guy post in my entire life.
It's incredible. He's breaking new ground in the field of social media personalities that are exclusively about how much you love your wife.
Yes. So, men's chamber match: Cena, Punk, Drew, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins. Damian Priest is
You cut out.
Damian Priest is pretty much the weak link in this
Yeah.
match.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. He is sticking out like a sore thumb to an extent, but I guess there's been some floating around that it's going to be him and Drew on the undercard at Mania, which maybe Drew is not psyched about. But hey, sometimes you just end up with like you paired everybody else off. This is what you got left. So those two guys being in the chamber makes sense in that they'll probably do something where, Damian pins Drew, or there's some sort of specific issue that they have coming out of the chamber that leads to their Mania match. So that works.
Right. Damian eliminated Drew from the Royal Rumble.
Oh
And
yeah.
then they tried to capitalize. They tried to capitalize on the Drew and LA Knight stuff because LA Knight was doing spots with somebody right before Priest eliminated Drew and kind of got in the way. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. Whatever. You're not going to convince me that Drew McIntyre, who got paid last year, is upset because LA Knight took 10 seconds too long to do a spot. I
Yeah.
just refuse to believe it.
Like I could believe he got a little hot about it on the night, but like this is Drew McIntyre, the guy who had like a notoriously terrible back issue and was still working twice on house shows Christmas week a couple years ago. And that's before he got paid, to your
Yes.
point. Like this is a company
Yes.
man. He is not, he might
Yes.
once in a while have a little temper tantrum, but he's not rocking the boat. He's not going to start a fight with a coworker for real.
Yeah. I mean, come on, get real is what I would say. Women's chamber match is I think PW Insider and Fightful both got fooled by that one. Look, is the F4W online track record of on scoops very good over the last few years? No. Is it embarrassing? Yes. Does Dave Meltzer embarrass his own brand on a daily basis? Absolutely. 1000%. I forget what my point was. Anyway, the Elimination Chamber for a Women's World Championship match. The winner will face Rhea Ripley, and we have Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez in that match. Well, considering that we have this is for a Raw Championship, I don't think Bianca Belair is going to win it. I don't think Naomi's going to win it. I don't think Liv Morgan's going to win it because I think Liv and Raquel are going to be wrestling Bianca and Naomi. So that leaves Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and Roxanne Perez. Alexa Bliss is also on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Bayley just got moved over there with the Uncle Hattie group. Bayley just got moved to Raw, and I have no faith that Paul will push a four horsewoman not named Charlotte. So I think Roxanne Perez is winning this, just by process of elimination. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean the way you laid it out, that's pretty good. I feel like Rhea versus Bianca's a match they have to do someday, but it feels like it would be weird to just pivot to that now when Bianca's a tag champ and they're still doing they just suddenly remembered they were doing an angle where Jade Cargill got laid out like 6 months ago. So
Right.
so now Bianca and Naomi are detectives and working with Captain Lonnie Donegan, what's his name, Nick Aldis,
Nick Aldis.
on SmackDown to figure out who's behind it. They just remember
Captain
they were
Lonnie
doing that.
Donegan.
They were doing
Yeah.
that this week. So it seems like it would be weird to just unless they lose the tag belts, Bianca is in the match, and then Jade comes back to feud with. I think we all think Naomi's the one who really did it, which is
Oh, her acting.
yeah,
Her acting in the big reveal of so the red herring on SmackDown this past week was that Raquel and Liv attacked Jade Cargill.
right.
But Naomi was like biting her fingernails while she was watching the video to really
Okay.
sell it.
Naomi as a heel. That's like that's the bet. You know what? When you're like the destination is so bad that how you get there is almost irrelevant because the end result is heel Naomi, which I think she was a heel when they first brought her up because Vince McMahon was running the company and he put all of the black girls together and
Yes.
decided they would be heels. But
Yeah.
like, she's not a heel.
No.
She's not a particularly compelling babyface at this point either, but she's not a heel.
Look, anyone that dresses that colorfully, she I don't know. It's not a heel gimmick. She'd have to totally change everything about her presentation.
Yes. which maybe she'll surprise us, but I doubt it.
Stranger things have happened. Unfortunately, speaking maybe she'll surprise us, but I doubt it. Roxanne Perez is the most miscast heel maybe ever. It's up there to me with turning Sami Zayn heel or Candice LeRae heel. And hey, they did it for years with Sami, and they have been doing it and are continuing to do it for years with Candice. But Roxanne Perez, the heel, is just preposterous.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem that she is 4'3" and 80
Yeah.
pounds.
Yes.
That's kind of a problem for a heel, although that didn't stop them from pushing Alexa Bliss as the top heel who beat everyone clean for
Yeah.
a couple of years. So
True.
and then there's also the fact that she looks like a Disney Channel actor.
Yeah.
She
I
just
could see it.
like she just that's kind of how she speaks too.
Yeah.
Like and yeah, she has this like very unevil face.
She looks like a cartoon character come to
Yes.
life.
There's that. Yes. So
That's
it's like
it's complimentary.
yeah, no, she's yeah. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I know what you. It's
I'm not
yeah.
I'm
She's
not trying look, I'm not
not being
fishing.
lewd.
No. And I'm not trying to bait you into being lewd.
Right.
I'm just trying to describe that this woman has a face that looks like the Parappa the Rappa video game come to life. I've never seen anything like it.
Boom. Yes, that
Anyway,
is exactly right. She looks exactly like for the rap.
what year did that video game come out? 1995,
Yeah,
1997?
that's I want to say that's like an almost launch title for the original PlayStation.
Well, I'm old, and no one under 30 listens to the show.
Most recently, Parappa the Rapper was in the PlayStation attempts to make a Super Smash Brothers clone that featured Parappa the Rapper and the guy from Uncharted and the guy from God of War and some other PlayStation mascots. It was pretty dreadful.
Huh. Well, that's disappointing. Anyway,
What were we talking about? Oh, right, Roxanne. Yeah, I
yeah.
think she has to win because to your point, it's not going to be Bailey. Bailey got her gold watch championship at WrestleMania match last year. She's not getting it 2 years in a row. So yeah, it's Rhea and it's Rhea and Rick and Roxanne, and yeah, it's going to be kind of a mismatch. Look, Rhea is beloved enough by the fans that you can probably get anyone booed against her for a while, but it doesn't change the fact that like when it comes time to like put that match together, it's just going to be weird because again, the 4 foot doe-eyed heel is going to be beating up the jacked tall baby face.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Hogan made it work at times over the years.
It's
Hogan
true.
made it work against Kurt Hennig. I mean, Kurt Hennig's an all-time great worker, but you know, Bundy was big, but Bundy was shorter. Earthquake was big, but Earthquake was shorter. Like anyway, you can make it work. It's just got to take. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I like to
I've,
think, even if there were other wrestling podcasts, that no one would ever think to compare Roxanne Perez to the Canadian earthquake.
look, John Tenta. John Tenta could work.
I mean, he was about the same age Roxanne is now when he was working Hogan in 1990, wasn't he?
Yes, he and Arn Anderson were both born looking 58 years old, but John Tenta was like 27. he was he was in the SummerSlam main event against Hogan.
Oh man.
Great story. Anyway, let's see what else do we have here for Elimination Chamber. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens unsanctioned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're doing it again. Does
Um,
that mean they're not doing this at Mania?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Look, it doesn't feel like it's time. They've done a very good job with the story, but it doesn't feel like it's time for another Sammy and Kevin match to me, but what do I know?
Yeah, again, I feel like they just looked around and went, well, these guys are paired off. These guys are paired off. What are we doing with Kevin this year? What are we doing with Sammy this year? Just put them together. Uh, and I guess it works in that Kevin's whole thing the whole time has been that he hates Roman Reigns. and he hates everyone that went back and helped Roman Reigns after Roman lost the belt. So I guess it's not that it doesn't make sense logistically. It's like we just talked about, though. The destination is not desirable.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, I mean, yeah, they'll tear it down, but
oh yeah.
yeah, we'll see what they do for Mania. Speaking of see what they do for Mania, it seemed pretty clear from the women's Rumble that Trish Stratus and Nia Jax was going to be a Mania match to me, but maybe not because hey, SmackDown was right down the road in Washington D.C. this past week, and there's always a debate with me anytime they only come once or twice a year to the region
Mm-hmm.
anymore. They don't really do house shows anymore. It's like if I want to see WWE, you usually get one, maybe two chances a year. So it's debating, I want to drive down to DC Friday night. I wouldn't mind. Getting time off work is like I'd rather have all my teeth pulled out with pliers than try to figure out how to get a day off when I'm scheduled to work, even though I've had like you can count on one hand the number of unscheduled days off I've had in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go. It's just a SmackDown. It's 3 hours of Nia Jax matches and LA Knight promos and whatever. It won't be worth it. Well, who should show up but someone on my Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, Trish Stratus. And she's shown in the crowd, and then they shoot an angle for Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax and Aunt Candace at Elimination Chamber. They shot this angle on a random SmackDown in Washington, D.C. on Valentine's Day.
And then
What do you
completely
know?
overshadowed the angle for no reason.
I'm forgetting specifically.
So Trish comes in to make the save after they do the Tiffy Nia title match.
Right,
DQ and not Candace runs in. Trish runs in to make the
right.
save. Nia beats them both up, leaves them laying, and then Trish just disappears. And then as Nia and Aunt Candace are walking in the back, Charlotte's music hits, and she comes down to announce that she's gonna face Tiffy at WrestleMania.
That's right. That's what happened. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe Trish decided, hey, I just want to do a tag at this point. I want to do a tag in my hometown of Toronto. Or maybe it's just to set up a mania match with Nia. Who knows? Who cares? But it's Trish and Tiffy teaming up at in Toronto against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, as we all predicted.
Of miscast characters,
So
Tiffy now is a baby face. Uh, she did make me laugh when she did the backstage segment with Trish afterwards, and she was very excited because she thought of saying Tiffy time and Trishy time, and then she was very pleased with herself for coming up with that wordplay.
yeah, her babyface character yet, but it it really doesn't matter. It does not matter, and I'm not trying to be lewd either.
Also, like
But
she's gonna get
it
cheered
doesn't
because
matter.
she does spectacular things, and also she's wrestling Charlotte, who the fans don't want to cheer.
That is also true. Yeah. So we have Charlotte and Tiffy official for WrestleMania, which means, as we talked about, the Women's Chamber winner faces Rhea. I think we're getting a Rhea and Io Sky title match on this Toronto show. Maybe not. Rhea's on a honeymoon in Australia with what's his face? Lonnie Donegan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you think if you were to administer a steroid test to Buddy Matthews, do you think like it would be like at a carnival in a cartoon when somebody hits that hammers the thing and the thing goes all the way to the top and breaks the breaks the bell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it.
Do you think Buddy Matthews takes a lot of steroids? Is my
Yeah,
question.
yeah. He flexes, and then the pinball machine inside his body goes tilt or whatever would happen in the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, yeah. He's just absurd. Just an absurd looking human being. Well, that's WWE Elimination Chamber, which is coming up. John Cena's last time in Toronto. John Cena apparently is going to be on Raw 3 times in March, which isn't that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's finishing his movie in what is he, Budapest or something right now?
Yeah, Hungary, of course. Yeah, there we go. All right. There's I don't know what to believe as far as the dribs and drabs that come out of the various scoopster sites these days, but there were some drips and drabs this week about um some of the women's divisions not being happy with their booking in WWE. And really, to me, it's surprising that that's only limited to the women's division because um I find the booking, hey, the shows are much better than late stage Vince shows. It doesn't mean they're good. It means they're more watchable for the most part, but things are slightly more logical. It's just like everybody is slotted. Gunther and Jey Uso are gonna wrestle, and then there's like your two upper mid card guys are Kevin and Sammy, or Seth and Finn, or whatever. And anyway, everyone just feels very slotted. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of room for upward mobility. And when you have a 2 night WrestleMania with probably 5 matches on each night, you have a total of of 10 WrestleMania matches over 2 nights. Somehow that'll take 10 hours. You're probably going to end up with multi-woman matches on the multi-men matches too, but multi-women matches on the pre-show. It's just how it's going to go with how they do these shows. But the women aren't happy with some of the booking, is one of the reports that came out this week. Do you buy it?
I mean, yeah, if I were anyone that isn't in that upper echelon of the Rhea tier, yeah, I'd be a little
Rhea, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Rhea,
no.
Liv, Raquel are kind of figured in
Mm-hmm.
on the one show, and then the other show, it's like Bianca and Naomi are kind of figured in, and Tiffy and Charlotte now because they're gonna wrestle each other. Anyway, I
Right.
don't know. Nia has Nia has her program too. Nia is figured. Nia has a spot.
For sure. So like, yeah, if you're not in that upper echelon, I mean, we just saw WWE cut some people very recently, I think since we did our last show. So yeah, I'm sure if you feel expendable and also like you're not being given a chance, I can understand that being frustrated. I mean, I think the example that I think this was a Sean Ross Sapp report specifically that got scuttlebutt this week, or not a report, just something he said in a YouTube show or whatever he does. And he specifically put as an example, brought up Natalia, who's like WWE did like a real full court press to make a big song and dance of re-signing her, and then she's been on Raw like twice since she re-signed. It feels like it felt like
If that, yeah.
she was on TV more leading up to her re-signing than when she actually has re-signed. So yeah, I could understand if you're that level, if you're Lyra Valkyria and you just won the Intercontinental title and they have nobody for you to wrestle. Uh, Ivy Nile and Dakota Kai are the only people who want your belt. Yeah, that sucks. If you're the U.S. champion, Chelsea Green, and the only people you have to work with are Mia Yim and B Fab, yeah, that kind of sucks for all these people. And some of them, like you said, if they're like Chelsea will be on every show because of her personality, and that's gotten over to a certain extent. But yeah, there are a lot of people, and again, to your point, it's not just the women, but that are just kind of floating in stasis right now. So yeah, I can certainly understand that feeling, but it is just kind of how this show has been booked for a couple of years now, to your point.
All right, I think we covered WWE well, land pretty well. AEW had Grand Slam Australia this past weekend. It took place at about 4 a.m. Eastern, and then it aired at about 10:40 p.m. Eastern that later that day. The big stuff on the show was, of course, Tony Storm getting her title back. Okada beat Buddy. Okada beat Buddy. Uh, John Moxley choked out Cope clean. in a hilarious finish. The Mercedes Moné Harley Cameron match was on the show, and Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega opened that program with a banger over Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita. All this to set up Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in a cage match at Revolution next month, and Kenny Omega versus Takeshita for the international title at Revolution next month. Although, of course, neither of those things are finalized yet. Those are the final destinations. Anyway, I did not have to work Saturday, and so I just watched some of this show. And when you just watch the show and it's just matches, uh, it's what AEW does best. I
Hmm.
enjoyed just sitting there and watching this show. What did you think of Grand Slam Australia?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best TV episodes AEW's done in probably over a year.
Yeah.
Because it was that. It was they built up a lot of this stuff, and the build wasn't great, but the payoff to the builds for everything was pretty good, and it was fun. And again, you can even if you didn't love the matches, the crowd was so hot for everything that it kind of I think willed the show into another stratosphere as far as enjoyment factor as well. So yeah, they it was a really fun show. You got the memorable moment for the hometown crowd with Tony winning the belt back, and the rest of the show was just fun wrestling. So yeah, I mean Mox choking out his title challenger 3 weeks before they wrestle for the title is a little baffling, but uh felt like I certainly just assumed that Mock or that the rated R superstar Cope was gonna pin Claudio, but they didn't.
Yeah,
They
I
didn't
don't know
do
why
that,
else you would do the match.
or at least Mox
Or
should
hey,
choke out Jay.
exactly. What are we doing?
If
I
he's
mean,
not the one getting the title shot.
I'm not surprised anymore, right? I'm not surprised at any of John Moxley's booking anymore. It's very funny. But yeah, like why would they should have killed Cope's son, Jay White, in front of him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He looks like his son. They look like a father and son tag team when they're out there together.
They
Jay
look.
White is Cope's little buddy.
That's right. Cope is his son. They're a little bit estranged. Cope
So,
wanted him to take up a trade, but Jay wanted to go to art school.
uh, I finally worked my way through the 2021 Dexter sequel series this week, and it's kind of the plot. Dexter and his son are a little estranged. Dexter wants him to go into the family serial killer business.
Well, sure.
Anyway, um,
Um,
Grand Slam Australia. Hey, there was a lot of talk before this show that hey, maybe Mercedes should put over Harley Cameron, and to those people, I would say, I mean, one, does it really matter? Probably not. It's the TBS championship. On the other hand, have you seen Harley Cameron have a wrestling match? That would be my question. And it's like, Fandango was really over it. It's like,
yeah,
should Fandango have beaten Chris Jericho at WrestleMania all those years ago? Probably not. Should
right.
Harley Cameron have beaten Mercedes when they last Saturday? Probably not. But look, it's the TBS Championship. If you wanted to give her a quick run and then have Mercedes come back and squash her on TV next week, that'd have been fine too. But I think that would have done Harley more damage. I think the thing that did the most damage to Harley in this entire scenario is she wasn't on TV this week. She'll be on Collision on Saturday with a promo and apparently got a very nice reaction, but just no follow up on Harley on Dynamite, and Mercedes is just on to her next feud. But as far as the match went, uh, my baseline expectation for a Mercedes match these days is 4 stars, and I don't think this is quite that.
No.
But no.
per
Also, they chopped it to pieces. Apparently, they cut like
yeah.
6 minutes out of this. But anyway, what'd you think?
Yeah, per Mercedes, especially her recent standard, the worst match she's had since coming to AEW.
Worse than the Brit match.
This was shorter. so that has that going for it. And the fans cared more.
They did.
Okay, so maybe the second worst match she's had.
All right, thank you.
uh Touche. But yeah, I don't think Harley needed to win the belt here. One, as we've discussed before, and this isn't just a problem in AEW, but we know how it works. Like you can win a belt from a star that is a bigger star than you,
Right.
but then the next week, that star's still going to be positioned the same way on television, just without the belt.
Yeah.
And you with the belt will still be positioned the same way
Right.
most of the time. See Daniel Garcia's current lot in life as he is challenging for the trios belts with the tubby kid with the square head and comb guy
Home
on
guy.
Collision this Saturday.
Home guy.
Mr. Ruby Soho who has a comb. Uh, so it's like if Harley wins the belt here, she's private party. You know, it's a nice moment that she got to win the belt, and then she floats around for a month with the belt and then loses it to somebody else, and then people talk about what a disappointing run it was that she had as if it was her fault. Um, so yeah, I don't think it makes much difference that Harley won or lost this because I don't think at this point AEW is going to push her any higher on the card than where she is. And I'm not even saying they should because as you pointed out, she's very green. She's had like less than 30 matches, I think. Maybe she's over 30 now because she wrestled a lot of like quick squashes when she first started wrestling, but it's not a lot of she's wrestled very few matches. So I don't know that you would like you could have you she should be on TV every week. Like she should be because she's entertaining and the fans are responding to her. But no, she doesn't have to be a champion and be wrestling and be a top star either. Like I think we can all learn a lesson from how Chelsea Green has carved out like a niche for herself in the wrestling industry. And it's that she's like, hey, no one's gonna be a buffoon like me. And she's great at it. And maybe it's okay for Harley to be this weird, crazy character with puppets and all the other weird stuff that she does. Like she can carve herself out a niche, and then if she gets better in the ring, then we can start pushing her like a serious wrestler.
Sounds good to me. AEW is also building to Revolution. They are in the former Staples Center for that show next month, the second Sunday in March. We have Mercedes versus Momo on that show for the TBS Championship. Kind of out of nowhere, not sure why exactly on this show. It's a rematch of a match I saw live 6 months ago, but we're doing it. John Moxley against Cope from the father-son serial killer team of Cope and Jay White. For the AEW World Title, MJF versus Hangman Page. They are. I mean, there was a fan holding a sign behind them that said "Kiss you cowards." During the MJF and Hangman Page promo this week, and really, I'm not sure I've ever seen more sexual tension in a pro wrestling promo.
Look, there's always sexual tension in pro wrestling promos. It's just a part of the trade. But this one
Yeah.
Was next level. Complimentary.
Holy. Oh yeah, it's just like take your pants off and just start mashing your wieners together. What? All right. Takeshita will defend the international title against probably Kenny Omega. It's whoever holds the international title, and it could be Takeshita who has to defend it against Orange Cassidy next week. Will face Kenny Omega at that show. Spoiler alert: Osprey Fletcher in a cage. They haven't announced that on TV yet, and then I think the Costco guy might be on the pre-show. So there we go. That's Revolution. It's coming up. Grab Bag, a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. Shane McMahon asked to run AEW if he wanted equity in the company and allegedly asked for a lot of creative control over the company, or to run a lot of things about the company when he met with Tony Khan a few months ago, and Tony Khan leaked the photo of him with Shane McMahon having a meeting in one of the most Bush League amateur moves I've ever seen in my entire life. But Shane
Disagree.
McMahon
It
It
was
was
funny.
funny, sure. I mean, but at that point, it's like, which fail son comes out of this looking worse?
I think Shane looks like a guy with nothing to do in his life at the age of 50, whatever he is. And so he went crawling to another wrestling company because the only thing where he's ever mattered even a little bit in his life is wrestling. And I think that makes Shane look worse.
I guess that's fair. I guess I just like Shane a little bit more than I like Tony.
No, I mean, I think there's enough hatred to for both billionaire sons. I don't we don't need to discriminate more against one than the other for my own personal opinion.
That's fair. I just find Shane way funnier. Maybe is really what it boils down to. It's
Sure.
like, what do I like either of these men? No. Do I want to
Mm-hmm.
see either of these men on television? No. Who's made me laugh more? Well, Tony Khan makes me mad with his television show every week, and Shane McMahon tore his quad last time I saw him on TV. So,
Booked the worst Royal
Shane's
Rumble
made
of
me
all
laugh.
time. Got banished
Got
from
him,
the company
but
for a year. Came back immediately to our squad.
very funny guy.
Mm-hmm,
Anyway,
mm-hmm.
are you surprised at all that Shane wanted to run this company?
I am not surprised that Vince McMahon's son would have strange ideas about his own what he could bring to the table to a wrestling company now. Maybe that it was just laid out that way, where he's like, well, I'm going to come in and I'm going to just take over the whole thing. And it's like, what? Even though he hadn't watched the show and he hadn't been in a creative role in WWE for like 15 years, longer maybe. So
There,
that's kind of funny to me.
there was always some question as to what level of creative input he had, right?
Right.
There was the Sports Illustrated idiot who reported that he was shoot running SmackDown when he was the TV storyline GM. And it's like, no, he really wasn't. It's like, well, they definitely did used to bring him in for the Royal Rumble to help agent the Royal Rumble every year because that Vince thought he inherited like Pat Patterson's booking genius specifically for the Royal Rumble. And it's like, I don't know that you need a genius to book a battle royal, but I also don't think Shane ever exhibited that. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, that was the Shane McMahon AEW story. Very funny.
And then I think most recently we've seen Shane was at the Super Bowl with his dad and the Undertaker.
Yeah, and The Undertaker and Bully Ray had a nice conversation about that I saw on social media last week, where Bully Ray was just, hey, you just went to the Super Bowl with your friend. That's all it was. And it's like, I don't know that I've seen um ever a video with two men giving each other the metaphorical fellatio any more than Bully Ray interviewing The Undertaker talking about Vince McMahon.
Yeah, just between them and Michael Cole was on Logan Paul's podcast this week praising Vince, talking about how he'll never disparage him because of
So
how much
yeah, he
professional
has
respect.
right. He has his personal problems or whatever. I think was
Mhm.
the direct quote from Cole. It's
Correct.
like you guys are you've been given well, first of all, they're probably scared because he's going to be back in the company within 6 months.
I all I could think about when I saw Cole's quote was he Vince is going to be back in that headset one day and he knows it.
Yeah. He'll be back before July. And everyone's terrified of that, but also they all are so insulated from the real world that they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize how stupid they sound when they're praising an alleged sex trafficker. Like,
And also,
what?
it's also like, well, and like this, it's one of those things where like this is like a joke I think a lot of people make about like like when you're recounting something that you think is totally normal from your childhood, and then you look up at your friend's face and they have like a look of horror on their face, and you realize, oh no, I think I just said something that might be traumatic, but I thought was normal.
Yeah, you're like all my parents' friends used to get together and trade underpants.
Right. You're like, what? No, that wasn't a normal, that's not a normal thing. You should. You should go see a therapist. That's how I feel. It's like Cole's like, yeah, he took such good care of me. I have so much professional respect. He's like, this man, by your own admission, spent 30 years screaming at you and calling you names in your headset while you were trying to call his live television show every week. You shouldn't have professional respect for him either, much less personal respect. He was bad at both things.
Right. It's like Cole has gone on the record and said he has like 80% hearing loss from wearing those headsets over the years, and he has to wear a special headset now to accommodate his 80% hearing
Mhm.
loss. It's like,
Unbelievable.
yeah, they don't. No one realizes how bad they sound. And speaking of Dwayne, your buddy Dwayne the Rock Johnson, it was leaked to the Hollywood trades on Thursday that The Rock is going to be in a Martin Scorsese film alongside Leonardo DiCaprio, who is Scorsese's muse, and Emily Blunt, who is Dwayne's muse, and also in all of Dwayne's movies. If you've noticed, by the way, Jim Halpert, what's his name? John Krasinski, Emily Blunt's wife, husband, whatever, um, is kind of patterned his public image after Dwayne's. Like, I feel like that guy only now exists to sell me products and and things like that. He's adopted Dwayne's completely homogenous public persona as well. But it's going to be about it's like Goodfellas meets The Departed set in Hawaii. Boy, that sounds good.
I think what I've come between this and his A24 movie that he's filming with one of the Safdie brothers, I think,
I don't know.
that he's doing the Smashing Machine. What I've come to the conclusion is that Dwayne wants an Oscar more than he wants to be the president of the United States.
Saying something because he talked about being president for on and off for about 20 years there.
Yeah. I mean, leading up to Mania last year, he was giving interviews to Fox News talking about how he hates woke. So he was gearing up for something. But all of a sudden he came out at that Netflix Raw this year and he's corporate good guy Dwayne. That Moana movie made $1 billion, and all of a sudden we got to be brand safe Dwayne again. No bad guy on wrestling TV. I'm just here to shake hands and kiss babies and press flesh with the Netflix executives.
Yeah, and gotta do that on TV for some reason. Couldn't have done that before the show.
Of course, you still want to be able to take credit for the house, you know.
1,000,000%. That is that's like Hogan booking himself in the main event of the Georgia Dome the week
Mm-hmm.
before the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's 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 like next level politicking. What are the odds this thing gets made? I feel like they're about maybe 40%.
Yeah, I mean, Scorsese. How many movies does that guy have left? He's not a guy who churns out like one a year at this point in his life.
Right.
So, and the idea that one of them would be like a Hawaiian mafia movie, I don't know. Like I don't I
I don't know either.
doesn't sound like that did not scream Martin Scorsese film to me, but maybe that's why he's interested in doing it because it's gets him out of like the New York gangster scene. It's still a gangster movie, but it's got a different paint of coat on it, so to speak.
Right. Well, we're years off, given there's no script yet.
Right.
But do you think Dwayne abandoned running for president because his daughter threatened never to speak to him again if he ran as a Republican?
It's possible. I mean, we're all pretty much under the impression that's the only reason he endorsed Biden in 2020, right?
I mean, there's always been a lot of talk over the years that Dwayne is a Republican.
Sure. A lot of
It's
very rich people are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That part shouldn't be surprising. Also pro wrestlers get head trauma for a living,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
Arnold was the wisest individuals. But hey, if you vote Republican, that's on you. I anyway, regardless. Yeah, he endorsed Biden in 2020. I
right before he shot his Ken
very
Shamrock
unexpectedly.
TNA Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah. The thing that I never understood about that is like why did Biden do the video with him? Like why was it so important for Joe Biden to get The Rock's endorsement?
Do you think
Do you
the
remember that
campaign?
video or
Wait, sorry. So was Biden in the? It was during COVID. I remember that, and then I thought he
it
just.
was like a back and forth?
Oh, okay. And that part I did not remember. I thought he was just. It was just him talking at his pond on his palatial estate.
He may have done multiple videos then because there was definitely one with Biden saying like, "Oh, hey, Dwayne," like they met 35 times before.
Okay. I forgot that one. I remember the one that had like the headline of like I voted for Democrats in my life and I voted for Republicans in my life. But this time I've got to vote for Joe Biden or whatever his very like carefully worded spiel was.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we've I think we've done enough. I think we've done enough damage to one another's schedules this week.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to cover here on the 400th episode?
No, I think once again I've said too much.
All right, same. Till next time, I'm Ethan,
And I'm Liam.
and we'll be back soon with more stories from the wrestling life.
Bye bye.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Now, here are this week's bonus features.
What a day.
Another Reba sitcom reunion happening on her current sitcom.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
breaking
She's
news.
had it is to me. She's had Van on, and
Mhm.
Barbara Jean is a regular cast member.
That's funny.
Uh yeah.
It's kind of like when
So
Kevin James did a new sitcom, and after one season, they killed off his new sitcom wife and just replaced her with his King of Queens sitcom wife.
with Leah Remini, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, and at that point it's like why aren't we just doing more King of Queens?
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm very much in the why aren't we just doing more Reba camp? I don't know, but Reba has her current boyfriend has a role on the show. Her Barbara Jean has a role on the show, and now Brock, who had a stroke, a really bad stroke,
Oh,
um, is going to do a guest shot as a tattoo artist.
oh,
So anyway, I hope they have cue cards for him.
so so.
He has worked really hard to get back
Mm.
to a normal life, but it's a 70-year-old guy that's had a stroke, so
Hmm.
we'll see.
That happened. The guy who played like the lead, one of the leads on the show, not the lead, but one of the lead like detectives on Psych, had a stroke like right when they were about to film the first movie that they did for Peacock, and so they
Uh-huh.
basically wrote him wrote him out of the film at the last minute, and he
Hmm.
he has like a 30-second cameo where he's like FaceTiming one of the other characters, and then he was back for the second one, but in the second one he is like bedridden for the whole movie by
I
design
see.
based on the story. Like he's a detective, so he gets shot at the beginning of the movie, and so he's like piecing together the mystery from his hospital bed with the help of the lead characters. But it's like they really kind of like worked to try to make it, I think, as painless as possible because he was such a big part of the show. So it would be hard to do a second movie without him, but also because he was a man in his at the time late 50s or early 60s recovering from a pretty serious stroke. So it's like, yeah, it's good, I guess, when you have an accommodating crew of people that want you to be in it and are going to make it as easy for you as possible.
Yeah. Yep. 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 All right. Well, time for a free flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep on keeping on.